Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another of our learning labs. So today we're going to be putting on a learning lab for you on additional bank fee connections with AccessPay. Let me just start with some introductions. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Fiona. I work in the customer success team here at Acuity, and taking us through today's learning lab will be Charlie. He's our partner channel manager. But just before I hand you over to Charlie, I'm just going to go through the usual housekeeping. Microphones will be muted throughout the session. However, on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar panel, you have a question box in there. Please do pop any questions you have as we go through into that panel, and I will read those out at the end of the session. Also, at the end of the session, there will be the opportunity to take yourself off of mute, and you can ask any questions that you have. But if you'd rather not ask and you want to pop them in there, I will read those out. Also, this session is being recorded. You will receive a copy of the recording via email after the session has finished, and please do feel free to share that around with your colleagues. Okay, I think that's everything from me. So I'm going to pass you over to Charlie, and we're going to try and do a little bit of a screen swap as well. So please bear with us. Okay, so if I stop showing and over to you, Charlie. Over to you, Charlie.
Perfect, thank you. Let me just get sharing.
Yep, that's sharing.
Perfect, lovely stuff. Thank you for the introduction, Fiona. And yes, as Fiona mentioned, I work with AccessPay, and I'm the partner channel manager at AccessPay. So I manage our Sage partnership and also manage any relations with Sage partners like Acuity and obviously the likes of Fiona as well. And yeah, so today I'm going to be talking to you about our bank feed integration with Sage, and basically how that works, the process of us setting those feeds up, and also the benefits of using AccessPay for your bank feeds as well. As Fiona mentioned, any questions, just ask them as I'm going via that chat, and then we can visit them at the end. Just a brief agenda. So I'll run you through AccessPay and sort of a little bit about the business, talk to you about how we help finance teams improve their operations, how we do that, and also why would you want to use AccessPay for your bank feeds as well. And then just towards the end, just a little bit of a what's on the horizon between Sage and AccessPay, as bank feeds isn't all that we will be doing in the future. So onto about AccessPay. So this is just a nice little summary of where we sit as a business, but also within the Sage world as well. So we've had our partnership with Sage for over 18 months now, and within that time we've got 160 Sage customers using us for bank feeds. From those 160 customers, there's 140 unique bank connections for those customers, and each day we're actually reconciling over 1,600 bank accounts for those Sage customers. As a company, we've got over 1,000 customers, and just so you understand where AccessPay sits, we are responsible for essentially delivering messages from your back office system into your bank, and then vice versa, so from your bank into your back office system. So just automating a lot of those finance processes that are often quite manual and take a lot of time. That leads me nicely on to how we work with Sage and essentially what we do. So Sage came to us with a problem where they've got the standard bank feed connections within Sage Intacct, but then there's some disparity and issues around sort of the banks that can be connected to, and also when the banks can be connected, there can often be some issues, mismatching data, that sort of thing. So that's where they approached us to sort of try and bridge that gap. So you may have banks that are working for bank feeds already, but then you may have some banks where they aren't available, which is where AccessPay would come in. So there on the left, you can see that this is a before using AccessPay, so quite a manual process, downloading feeds out of banking portals, uploading them into Sage, obviously delaying reconciliation and not giving you that sort of real-time cash visibility through your accounts. And with AccessPay and where we sit in between the bank and Sage and deliver your bank feeds each day from the banks into your Sage Intacct platform. So you have daily cash visibility, and obviously it just removes any manual need for downloading feeds, uploading feeds, or any spreadsheets or any other manual processes that you're currently doing. I will touch on this in more details in terms of how this solution works and how the implementation works, but this is just sort of a high-level overview of the problem that we are solving with Sage. Moving on to more of the tech side of that, so how it works. So with the standard bank feeds within Sage, you essentially give them access to your online banking platform to go in to retrieve that information themselves. The way that we differ is we rely on your banks sending us your end of day bank feeds rather than us going in to retrieve them ourselves. That allows us to work with a wider scope of banks, mainly because banks will see giving a third party access to your platform as a security issue, so won't partner with the standard bank feeds. Whereas as the banks are sending us your feeds and we don't have access to your platform, we can get around that security issue. So if you've got banks requiring multi-factor authentication or tokens to access the platform, this may be a better option for you. So yeah, this is just a nice diagram showing that the banks are sending us your end of day bank feeds either via the SWIFT network, which is a global network connecting banks and FIs, or via an SFTP connection, which is just a secure file transfer process. Essentially, the bank will host a connection to send the feeds to AccessPay via. The difference in the two is just what output your bank can produce. So if obviously this is of interest and you have banks in mind, we can discuss that in more detail and really understand what your bank can do and which method would be best for you. Once we get the files from the bank, we are then responsible for transforming the document into a format Sage can consume, as Sage can't read the raw formats from the bank. So we sit in the middle, transform the formats into a format your bank can read, that Sage can read, sorry, and then feed the information on into Sage. From your point of view, how this would look is you would be getting an end of day feed at the end of each day. So the banks tend to send us the feeds at around 9 p.m. of their local time. So if you're thinking of using AccessPay for, say, a European bank or a US bank, that would it'll be dependent upon the bank as to what time we're sent the feeds. And then we then have sort of a 3-hour conversion window feeding the information into Sage. But you will be getting a daily feed. So it will come through daily and display in Sage under your cash management module, and it will list the transactions that have been on your account from the day before. In regards to obviously seeing this and having a demo, with us being a third party, we don't have access to Sage to give you guys a live demo, but I will be following up with Fiona and sending through a link to our demo video. So that will be sent out along with these slides after the call. So if you do want to review that demo video and any other questions off the back of that, I'm happy to follow up with that as well. In terms of setup and implementation and how that process works, so it's pretty light touch from your side. There's not really a great deal of work from an IT resource perspective. We would need you on the front end of the process to instruct your bank to begin sending AccessPay the feeds. Everything is then done via the bank and AccessPay to set the feeds up into Sage. And then on the end of the process, we will give you a one-time username and passcode to connect your accounts in Sage. In terms of timescales and how that looks, it does depend on whether it's the SWIFT or the SFTP route. If you're going via SWIFT, it's usually around 4 weeks. If it's via SFTP, you're looking at around 6 to 8 weeks, just because the bank is actually building a unique connection rather than leveraging off the SWIFT network, which is an existing connection. So just something to bear in mind there as well. So that's sort of everything around the tech setup and how that works. And then I just wanted to move on to why you would look to use AccessPay for bank feeds. So we know with sort of UK entities, a lot of the UK banks will work with the standard bank feeds, which is great. But then there may be some issues where you have global banks, whether it's across Europe, US, Asia, and via that SWIFT network, we have access to over 11,000 FIs and banks that we can connect to. So if you've got overseas accounts that don't currently work with the standard bank feeds, that may be where we can fit in and just fill that gap where you've not got those feeds automated for those banks. You've got an increased consistency with AccessPay as well. So as I say, you've got daily feeds coming in without delays. That will happen on a daily basis, whether there's current disparities from the banks that you're using where days may be missing or it takes a couple of days for feeds to come through, you would have that consistent daily feed through AccessPay. There's no need for re-authentication. It's a one-time implementation. So via the open banking route, you actually have to authenticate every 90 days to keep those connections up and running. But with us having the feeds sent to us via the bank, it's just that one-time setup. And that connection will remain until you tell AccessPay to stop sending your feeds through to Sage. There's an increased accuracy with the rich data that we receive from the bank. So as we are essentially taking the feed that you would download from your bank and converting it into another format, there's no issues with duplicated or missing transactions. We're not going in and screen scraping the information. We're actually taking the file that your bank sends us and converting it into a format Sage can consume and delivering it on. So there's no issues there from a data point of view. And then obviously the obvious, it's saving you guys time on your daily processes, reducing the risk of people doing this manually, keying in information wrong. And obviously it's overall reducing the operational costs, giving you guys time back and allowing you to focus on sort of more pressing matters rather than downloading and uploading your bank feeds. And then that's everything around bank feeds and sort of what we currently do with Sage. And I mentioned that we're looking at future releases as well and what's to come. So essentially on the horizon over the next few months, we'll be finalizing a payments integration with Sage. So everything we do so far is delivering data from the bank through to your Sage platform. And we're working with Sage to do that the other way. So automating your payment files out of Sage through AccessPay and into your bank without having to download payment files and upload them, or even key in payments manually into your banking platform, which obviously is a security risk if information is keyed in wrong, and also a fraud risk as well for internal fraud. So it's just removing any manual touch points from your daily finance processes, and this is our next step in doing so. Obviously I can share more information with the Acuity team to pass on once we have more, but we're aiming for a Q3 release initially for UK companies with BACS payments and collections. So obviously happy to answer any questions on this as well. It is still early days, but this is sort of the next step and our aim with our Sage integration. That was all I had at this stage from my time. I know that was quite quick and a lot of information to take in all in one go. But yes, Fiona, happy to hand over to you just for any other questions from your side.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Charlie. Let me just check if we've had any questions come through. I cannot see any at the moment. Yeah, let me just share my screen as well. Hopefully that's sharing my screen now. So if you do have any questions, please do now take yourself off mute and you can ask away. There's no questions in the panel for me to read out, so we'll just give that a moment for any questions to come through, and then I'll just wrap up the session. Thanks. Okay, lovely. It doesn't look as though we have any questions coming through at the moment, but if you do have any questions following this session, you can see my email address is there on screen. Please do send them over to me and I will reach out to Charlie for anything I'm unsure of. Like Charlie said, we will also be sharing, following this recording of this Learning Lab, we'll also be sharing the slides, and we've got a few demos, demo video that we can also send over and sharing with you. I hope you've enjoyed today's session and you found it really useful. Thank you, Charlie, for putting that on for us. I found it really useful. Our next Learning Lab will be on the 5th of June, and we're going to be taking you through how to track non-financial data with statistical accounts. So please keep a lookout for an invite which will be sent out to you in the coming days on how to get registered and signed up for that Learning Lab. If you have any future suggestions or any feedback of any Learning Labs you'd like to see, then please do drop me an email. We appreciate all your feedback. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks again, Charlie. Thank you for putting that on for us, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Fiona. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.